All right, excellent. Johnny Vajra here, as well as Don Sherman, certified hypnotherapist. We're over here at the St. Pete Retreat, talking about reframing the shame. So Don, just tell us a little bit about this workshop that you're working on right now at the St. Pete Retreat, reframe the shame. So just tell us a little bit about how you help your clients reframe the shame that comes up in their experiences.
All right. Well, so the
You can talk to me.
the main part. Okay, good. That's so much easier for me. That's so the main part is doing what is seemingly natural. Is what mainly we're taught or conditioned to do is to reject or push away the feelings that aren't so good or less than positive, and instead embracing those parts of us and allowing them to speak to us and through us. So in my process, I'll induce them in to the hypnotic state or brainwave, and then from there start with always in like a safe place, so that there's a place they can retreat to, or somewhere the place that they can ground where they feel most comfortable, real or imagined. And then I start to I'll have them bring up that feeling in them, like regardless of where it is in their body. Or like if we're working on shame, I'll be like allow that feeling of shame to just start to surface. And it doesn't have to be overwhelming, it doesn't have to take you over or be anything other than allow it to be there, just enough so you can feel it. And then once they bring it up, I'll ask them, can you feel it now? Once they say yes, I'll say, where do you feel in your body? So because there's we store things in different parts of our physical body and energy field and everything else. So where they feel it in their body is always important. And then from there, I'll have them turn it up a little bit more, because I'll give them that a few moments to start getting comfortable allowing it to be there. And then I'll start turning it up, and I'll have them follow it all the way back to where that either it first started or where it was most powerful. And then what happens most times is they'll go back to a time, place, or event of them as somewhere in between teenager and a very small child, and they could see and recognize that part of them and that inner child that's there. And if it won't come up, it's usually because that part of them has either been rejected or abandoned by them, because we push away the feeling. So what that resorts, what the effect of that is, it's like nobody likes being rejected, nobody likes being abandoned, but that's what we do to ourselves in order to try to feel better. And all it does is temporarily mask it, because it continues to come up in different areas of our life and affect actions, reactions, decisions on a daily basis, regularly.
So actions, reactions, and decisions. So that's essentially, because I want to just put a pin in that part.
Yeah.
And that part is when we essentially are, when we have shame that then triggers that negative, that adverse response in us, then all of that starts to affect those actions, reactions, and decisions.
Yes.
In every aspect of our life, or in aspects that are are in those spaces that shame essentially has connected in our brain.
Yeah, so what will happen is, like, if we're triggered or made to feel a certain way, whether it's other persons did it on purpose or not, will most often spontaneously regress to that inner child. And that's why people will start freaking out or crying, or throwing a tantrum, or turn inward, because that was their survival mechanism that time, because they didn't have any other tools. So we'll go through those processes, and it doesn't feel good, and then we just try to reject and suppress it even more. So what I'll have them do is ask that inner child, that that the root of that shame, that guilt, whatever it is, what it is that they need right now. And almost 100% of the time, that part will just start telling them. Like, it'll say, I need love, I need hugs, I need attention, I need to feel noticed, I need to be seen, I need to be heard. Like, depending on what it is and what their upbringing or the bully at school or whatever it was that made them feel that bad. And we're also talking about a very small child, so comparing how a 5-year-old feels to us as adults now is very different because they don't have the experience with roles and relationships. They have, just their parents, and their parents could have just been busy that day where they were very excited and they could have been really good parents, but if at that moment they felt rejected or denied or abandoned for some reason, they will develop a neurosynapsis, a cycle, a pattern in their own mind of daddy, mom doesn't love me, or this is, they'll create that guilt, shame, abandonment, all those things. And then from there, it's usually just, ask permission, and if it's okay with them, I want you to open your heart, just blast them with unconditional love, and give them a big hug. Just embrace them. Give them what they need. Reparent them. Whatever it is that they said that they needed, I want you to do that for them right now. And usually the tears are flowing, the connection gets remade, because, in a lot of cases, if you're in your 30s or 40s, it's been decades since you've established a relationship with that part of you.
Right, and I also want to pinpoint what you mentioned with when they're okay with it, that part of them essentially is giving the consent for you to blast them with that unconditional love. So when we think about it from that space of when they were in that space at that time of their life, that whatever it was that initially triggered that trauma, that then obviously, put that memory, that synapse of shame that was tied to that experience, we'll say hypothetically, it could have, majority of time, would you agree that it had to do with something non-consensual?
It can be a lot of things. Like shame can be, you got called out in front of the family at Thanksgiving dinner because you're picking your nose. Instant shame. Everyone turns and looks at you, you feel tiny, small, shrunken, and the person that was supposed to love and protect you the most called you out. Shame. Instant.
Right.
And then from that moment on, that thing will play into it. And so the moment that from that day forward, someone calls you out, you feel that sinking, you feel that pit in your stomach, you feel that thing. And 30 years later, you don't know what it is, and it can be something simple, but that being seen, that shame, that whatever it is, can just, you just spontaneously regress to that feeling, because that is your subconscious, that part of you saying, hey, I remember this, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to avoid being hurt and going through suffering
Avoid
again.
feeling that again in that same type of scenario.
Yeah. So it's a protection mechanism or a survival strategy of, that's just how the subconscious works, is it's built to keep us safe and alive, not to keep us happy.
Right.
So it is just our brain's mechanism of not repeating stuff that made us feel bad to not repeat it again. So at that point, the brain is really good at scanning at all times, all scenarios, places, people, circumstances that could result in not feeling good, and it will trigger out or help us to avoid getting into a circumstance or a relationship with someone that might make us feel like that again to repeat the behavior.
Got it. So then how do you help people reframe that? And so now you've gotten to a space where you go into the unconditional love, kind of rounding that out with the experience that you said that you draw them into, and in the space where now they've been blasted, and then there's a wrap up or some way that then brings them back into their current space of time, integrating that moment that's now been shifted.
Yes.
So how to help us understand what
Absolutely.
that is?
So from there, I would be, as a hypothetical, Johnny, okay, your 5-year-old self is still sitting right across from you, yes? Yeah. How's he look now? How's he feel now? A little bit better. All right, I want you to ask him if it would be okay if you take him on a little journey. He asked him, I always have the person ask the inner child. I never talk to the inner child directly ever, because I'm just guiding, and they're doing their own work. And from there, grab little Johnny by the hand, and I want you to walk him through all the wonderful stuff from that moment until today. All the great relationships, all the times that you were respected, that you were seen, that you were loved unconditionally, everything that you know made a positive impact in your life. And I want you to walk them through, and you can do this in speed of thought, and just have them go there and take as much time as you need, and let me know when you're done. And it usually only takes a few moments, because the speed of thought in the subconscious mind, you can replay your whole life like your light flashes before your eyes. You can go through everything, and if you want to take time on one scenario and really look around, or once they get to the here, is there anything that really stood out that you want to go explore more, and go into that. So by doing this, once we get on the other side of that, like, well, how's he look and how's he feel now? And usually it's like, wow, he's happy, he's impressed, he's so proud of me because I've been through all this shit, and yet I kept going. And so it's like, all right, well, now we need to explain to little Johnny that he doesn't live there. He's not in that one bad circumstance that happened 35 years ago. I'm not guessing your age. 35 years ago. These are all hypotheticals.
Yeah.
He doesn't live there anymore. And would he be okay with letting that feeling go now? Is he ready? And the answer is almost always absolutely. And if there is something else that's tied to that, that'll open up right away. So it's like, if there's anything else tied to this, or if he's just ready to get rid of that feeling now, would he be okay with that? And it's usually yes. And then then we start with, sometimes there's some energy work and other things, and some neurolinguistic stuff that we can work on to help release that feeling. Once that feeling's out, we fill that void, that thing where that feeling once was, with unconditional love. And we can bring in, entities, deities, anyone who's ever loved you unconditionally, grandma, whatever, whoever has loved you, will help you, your guardian angels, anything. Have them come in. It's like a self-imposed Reiki session of just like pure, unconditional love. And this is very impactful for people, because like filling that void with nothing but joy and love and happiness really can shift that whole thing, because we don't want to leave that void. Because just leaving a void is then energetically something else can just get in there.
Right.
So we want to fill that void. And then from there, it's just, making a relationship and allowing that inner child to go be fine. A 5-year-old is supposed to be inquisitive and excited and full of energy and creative, and like, what did little Johnny like to do before this? What excites him, what really sets him on fire? And then he'll do all, say whatever it is that he really loved. And it's like, all right, so now, because he's worked for you for all these years, and has been working so hard, reminding you every time you felt like you were in danger, of refeeling this, like, we don't want to get rid of him, we don't want to reject him, but we do need to give him a new job, because he's obviously very reliable. And so we're going to give him a new job to live through us creatively and joyfully, and let our inner child be unapologetically fun and, just happy. And like, whatever it is that really, like, if we could allow ourselves to be, not to be so rigid and not have so much seriousness in our life, and we can live playfully and creative, and let, we have great ideas come to us, and like, no, that's stupid, they might make fun of me, no, but
Yeah, take away all of the stories that are limiting us from connecting with that inner child, and allowing that inner child to then express itself naturally through us as adults.
Yes.
With all of the power and the authority now that we have,
wisdom and experience,
and the wisdom
yes.
and the experience, then that gives that child an outlet, a way to not only be in its expression, to have those thoughts and the creativity and all the things, but then also to fully realize whatever those dreams are that they have, that they were playing pretend about, but now realizing them into this physical material space of reality for them.
And not only permission to do so, but I need you, buddy.
Yeah, and hey, I got a new friend.
Yeah.
Hi, friend, I'm here for you. I got
so
you.
We're reparenting them in the way that was necessary, even if it was just that moment. Not saying anyone had bad parents, because our parents are all just,
our parents are human too.
Yeah, they're human, and they were going. You don't realize when you're 5 years old, your parents are gods.
Yeah.
That's all you know.
Right.
So they're
your protectors,
and they are. That's where we get most of our inherited paradigms from, and that's just cycles and behaviors that we learn through observation, the inherited paradigm.
Yeah.
So just by watching and learning, we mimic and emulate those that we care about and are around the most. So, they can have a lot of really good impact, and sometimes unwittingly can have a negative impact. And it's not necessarily their fault. A lot of times they're uneducated. Like, who gets the emotional education before their parents?
It's part of the human experience.
Yeah, I have kids, and believe me, we had a baby, they sent us home. I'm like, now what the fuck do we do?
Right.
Why would they send me home with a human?
Yep.
So you learn as you go, and you make mistakes. I've made mistakes. I know that I've made mistakes. Like, there's things I could have done way better, and but we learn as we go. And as parents, and like, all we can do is like, now for anyone, including whether you have children or not, or friends or family, is to feel as deeply as we can inside, so we can do the best and show up the most for each and every person that we care for. And then you also become like a beacon for other people's healing as well.
Excellent.
When they can see you go through the transformation, that transmutation, and come out the other side and like really, embrace your empowerment and who you are and your individuality, without having any shame or guilt. Like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I want to experience. I was put here by something much greater than me to fulfill my experiences, as long as I'm not harming anyone else. And then from there, I can go and do things that I want and need to do, and not feel the pressure or the guilt and the shame, because people want you to be individual. There's no one alike, and just emulating other people your entire life just to fit in isn't fulfilling for anybody.
Yeah. That's our gift to this experience that is the human experience in this existence of the universe is really to be our unique self.
For sure.
That's the only gift that we can provide, is that.
Yeah.
Because if we're being someone else, we're being their experience. But when we can be uniquely us, then that uniqueness that is us is the gift.
Yes. Yeah, we can learn a lot by modeling and emulating for a minute to get into a groove, but then you have to make it your own.
Right, and the only way we can make it our own is by reframing these shameful experiences of our past, because all of those bits of the past, they're also keeping us in the past.
Yes.
And so when we come back to those bits in the past and we reframe them in a healthy way with a professional like yourself, then now there's an opportunity for us to live even more in the present, to come current. And in that currentness starts to build our own currency, which is our own inner value of ourselves.
Yes.
And that currency is something then that is evident, that starts to flow like a river. And so then in that's where we start to feel life flowing through us.
And then creating our own unique ripple.
And that vibrancy that is.
Yes. Yeah, the walls of self-preservation are the same walls of self-imprisonment.
One more time. The walls of self-preservation
Are the same walls as self-imprisonment.
As self-imprisonment.
Yep. We lock ourselves away to keep ourselves safe, and those keep us in prison to not live a full experience.
Thank you so much, Don. Appreciate you. And Don Sherman, hypnotherapist, check him out. Also, we'll put his information in the comments, and then as well as his workshop, look out for that here at St. Pete Retreat.
Thank you.
Bam, dude. See, look at that.